Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel, and today we're going to be looking at a relatively new product and one that is relatively also well received, and that is The System by Michael Murray. This is a very interesting thought of playing card reveal that happens with the use of a poker chip that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy, because I do think it is relatively fun to perform and also use, and the method is very clever, as you would expect with Michael Murray. So I can't wait to talk more about it to you. Let's roll the intro and get straight into it. Perfect, so you decided to stick around, which means you want to learn more about the system. So what is the system? As mentioned in the brief intro, the system is a way to have someone play a small game and think of a card in the process, and then you will be able to reveal what their card is. As always, it is hard for me to do performances, but I guess people just really want them, even if it's for ghosts. So I will do again a performance of this routine to no one, but you will get the gist of how this would work. And this is how I practice my routines anyway, so you're kind of getting to see how I practice. But you would introduce your chip, introduce this poker chip to someone. You say, look, I want us to play a game. And the game is simple. As you can see on this poker chip, there's a few things written on it. As you can see on one side, there's a word on the left and on the right. And on the other side, if you can see, there's a value, but there's also a word on the left and the right. Can you see those words? Are you familiar with them? Perfect. Because in a moment, we're going to use those words, we're going to jumble them up, and we're going to create different things. Is that fine with you? Perfect. I want you to take the chip and just flip it and place it on your hand. I'm going to turn away. So now what I want you to do is I want you to look at the chip and turn it so that you can see the writing. Can you see the two words on the left and on the right? Perfect. Now what I want you to do is I want you to change either the word on the left or on the right to its complete opposite. Do you know the opposite of both words? You do? Great. Now don't tell me, but change either the word on the right or on the left. They're going to do that and they confirm. You say, great. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take the new word that you've created with the other word that you left unchanged. You're going to put them together and create a numerical value that could be attributed to a playing card. Can you do that for me? They're going to confirm yes. You say, great. Now what you're also going to do is we're going to put a suit to your play card. So for example, if you're thinking of a low odd card, go for something like a diamond. If you're thinking of a low even card, go for a heart. If you're thinking of a high even card, go for a spade. And if you're thinking of a high odd card, go for a club. Have you placed a suit to your card? Perfect. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to try and read you. And the way that we're going to do that is through some simple questions here. So the first thing is, I want you to imagine, can you spell out your suit in your head, like in front of you? Like just the name of the suit. Great. Now, can you focus on the first letter of this suit right here? Can you focus on the first letter? Great. Now, if I were to ask you the position of that letter in the alphabet, its numerical position, like A being 1, B being 2, C being 3, would you be able to immediately tell it to me? You wouldn't. Okay, that's completely fine, because that tells me a few things about you. It tells me that even though you're someone that's very visual, because I feel you visualize the word very well, I think, going through the alphabet, you may be someone like me that even if it's to go to a letter towards the end, you're still going to start from A, B, C, D. Am I correct in saying that, right? But that's completely fine, because that tells me you're a very critical thinker, but you're not necessarily someone that maybe excelled, even in math classes, as the quick fire questions that they would ask you, like 9 times 8, 9 times 7, 4 times 9, right? You weren't maybe one of those that excels. I'm correct? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought, because I'm the same. So that's very good that you're thinking like that. So now what we're going to do is I want you now to imagine that I'm taking out a card from my pocket, just a random card, and I'm placing it right here in front of me, and it's the 10 of spades. Is that, I can see from your grin, is that the card that you're thinking of, merely thinking of the 10 of spades? And they would say yes, and that would be their card. So that's a quick performance of the system. There are ways to add things to it. We're going to talk about it in a moment, but that would be a quick performance of how the system would work. So now that you know what this is, let's talk about where you buy this, how much does it cost, and what you get. So you can buy this directly from Mind Effects if you want. You can buy it on its own for 40 USD, or you can buy the bundle with this and polarity. I think it's for 60 USD. It's around 70 Canadian. And what you get with your purchase, I've only bought the system, only the system. I didn't buy polarity as well. But the system, what you get with your purchase is this. One, you're going to get inside of your tin you are going to get an instructional video, which is an hour and 13 minutes long, that goes over everything that you need to know in order to perform the routine. There's even a live performance through the camera to you as a magician. Additionally, there's also an extra video that was added, which is an hour long, with some new ideas, some new touches, some new ways of revealing the information, using this as a prediction instead of a mental reveal, a ton of new information. So essentially, it's around 2 hours and 15 minutes long. There's also a Facebook group that you can add yourself to inside of this. So once you know and you're in the tutorial section, you can send an email and he's going to add you to the Facebook group if you so want. And then additionally, you're going to get this little velvet bag. And inside of this velvet bag, you are going to get 3 chips. They are identical. You're going to get a $50 one, a $20 one, and a $10 one. They all do the same thing. They're all used in the same way. But as I said, you can do another phase in the routine if you want to make it play a bit bigger, is at the start, before you start, you have someone mix the chips. You place them out. Oops, my bad. You have someone mix the chips. Essentially, they're going to take, with your back turn, they're going to take one, place it in their back pocket. In their back pocket, you then tell them, perfect. You're left with 2 chips, correct? So what I want you to do is I want you to take one in your right pocket. They're going to place that in the right pocket. And now you're going to use that one for the game. So that would go through that. And then in the game part that I personally, where I like to use this is as a middle section, is when I say perfect. So you're not able to tell me the exact letter, position of your letter in the alphabet, are you? And then they're going to respond. And no matter what they respond, I'd say, that tells me everything that I need to know. It tells me this, but it also tells me that you're someone that would put the $10 chip in their back pocket, that would put the $20 chip in the right pocket, and will always want to use the highest rated chip to do the effect with, to play the game with. Am I correct? And then they would show that the 10 is in their back pocket, the 20 is in the right pocket, and the 50 is the one in play. So you could do an extra phase with that if you want during the routine. That's why the 3 chips are provided. But again, you know, you can only use one for the routine. So that everything with that is provided to you. So now let's get through the difficulty. So how difficult is this to perform? This is relatively easy to perform. It is almost straightforward, but it does use a ton of ploys and devices and mentalism plots that you will need to know in order to get through. It is still relatively simple. I mean, once you learn it, I think it's going to be relatively easy to remember. If you make a note on your phone or anything like that, I think you're always going to be able to re-remember it. It's not something that once you learn it, if you don't perform it for a week, you're going to fully forget it. I think it's something that's going to come very naturally because of how simple it is. But you do have to keep in mind some more difficult or intricate parts towards the end where, you know, there could be, he does even say it in the tutorial, some specters may keep such a poker face that even when you're supposed to get a hint as if the effect worked, they're not going to tell you it worked. So you will have to work a bit around that depending on the reactions. So you're going to have to maybe jazz a bit. And also there's some interesting ways, for example, the ploy that he gives you with the letters in the alphabet. That's a very interesting one that I personally love. But you can also not use that ploy if you're scared of it not working. You can just be pretty straightforward and do it even simpler than that without using a ploy, just being direct and asking them, do you want to change the first or the second word, right? If you want to, you can just avoid ploys and just do it to the point. But overall, difficulty-wise, in terms of sleights or anything like that, there is none. It's just mental gymnastics, jazzing a bit on the spot, and working with what you have and remembering the script. So that's the difficulty of the system. In terms of practicality, it is very practical. As I said, if you just want to do the playing card reveal, all you need is 1 chip. It doesn't matter if it's the 50, 20, or 10. 1 chip in your wallet and you're good to go. If you want to do the additional phase, with the telling them which is in their back pocket, in the right pocket, etc., you're just going to put all 3 chips inside of your little velvet bag. You plop this in a top pocket or in your pants pocket or anywhere, and you're able to do the full routine with the 3 chips without a problem. That's fully up to you. It's very easy to carry around. In terms of inspectability, it is fully inspectable. There's nothing to see. In terms of repeatability, it is repeatable. But again, I wouldn't recommend this type of effect to repeat it to the same group because it may shine a bit on the method, especially towards the end. So I wouldn't recommend that necessarily, but it can be repeated. The reset is instant. You do not need a table for the effect whatsoever. and the angles are pretty much 360. There's not really anything angle-wise that could happen in this routine. So practicality-wise, it is fantastic. In terms of where to perform this, this is something that you can perform through, you can even do this maybe through Zoom. So if you want to send this to someone before a gig by email, or by mail, you can have this send someone by mail one of the chips. You do the routine through Zoom, and then they give you back the chip. You can do that if you want, but I wouldn't personally do it. But if not, you can do this casual, close-up, walk around, stage, parlay. You can do this pretty much anywhere that you would want to do a thought of playing card reveal. It is going to take a bit of time because, as I said, this is not think of one and go directly. It does take maybe 1 to 2 minutes to get to the end, but if you know the script very well, it's going to be very straightforward. It's not going to be very muddled or very complicated whatsoever, but it is going to take a bit of time. So performance-wise, it's not something you're going to perform somewhere in a very loud environment, or somewhere where you can be disturbed or lose your train of thought, or you lose your spectator's train of thought. So for example, I do sometimes perform at weddings, and some weddings, every 10 minutes, someone comes up to take the mic and give a toast or anything like that. So this is not a routine I would ever perform in that scenario, because imagine you're in the middle of the process, someone comes to do a 3-minute toast, and then the person says, okay, let's continue, and they completely forgot what they were thinking of. They invent something, you go through the routine and it fails. It won't be your problem, neither the spectators, it would be the venue, right? So you do have to keep that in mind. Also, if you're performing this in a dark environment, maybe people won't be able to see the 2 words or anything like that. So you do have to keep that in mind. But apart from that, let's get into the positives and negatives. So what are the negatives of the system? The only negative of the system that could be a negative is that there are, as I said, certain spectators that may not give you the cues that you need in order to progress the routine. And I can't say much more about that, but when you get towards the end of it and it's time to do the reveal, as I said, even he acknowledged it, that some spectators may be a bit hard-headed and they may not give away what you need to know in order to achieve the routine. So you do have to keep that in mind, that it is a possibility and that you may have to ask more directly and more bluntly if that is the case. So you will just have to practice that and learn how to jazz a bit at the end of the routine. And another possible negative for some people that I've seen is that, yes, it does take a bit of time and there is some process to getting the card thought of, but if you learn the process correctly, it's not as long as convoluted as you may think it is from video. It is relatively natural and fast-paced in actual person. But in terms of the positives, one, the instructions are great, the chips are well made, it's something that's going to last you a lifetime, so once you know it, you're going to have it forever. It's a system that you are going to use, I personally believe. It's easy to carry around, it's practical, it can be performed in a lot of scenarios, even though there are some drawbacks. And I do think it's a very fooling routine, even for your spectators, because of how clean it is. And lastly, it is also a routine where you can add or remove stuff from it, because as I've said, you can add the phase with the 3 chips or not. You can do a phase with the 2 chips, and once you know the workings, you can even do it, differently. You can tell the spectator, okay, if you selected the $10 chip, think of a club. If you selected this chip, this chip, this chip. So you can make the routine more modular and easy for you to get through, depending your level of comfort, which is very nice. So to close everything off, would I recommend the system and what do I give it out of 10? Would I recommend the system? I think yes, I think it is very good. If you're trying to do a playing card divination that is very fair, I think this is a very good option. Yes, it's going to take a bit of work, especially towards the end, and in performance sometimes you may find some hiccups, but I do think it's well worth it. For that, personally, I think the poker chip idea is great. It feels casual and it feels relatively impromptu, if you want to use that word, more so than the cards of polarity, which I think carry around 2 massive cards with you seems a bit weirder than a poker chip. So yes, I would recommend this if you're into mentalism or magic and want to have a thought of playing card reveal. I'm personally going to perform this, so I'm giving it an 8.5 on 10. It's not the best routine of that regard, but it is still very good and very fun to do and to operate. That's all I have to say about the system. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, I'll see you all in my next review. Have a great one, and bye-bye.